Welcome back to Built for Better. Today's going to be a little bit different one. I'm going to talk about my last 12 months, some of the struggles that I've been through, and it'll be an interesting one. Before we get into it, let's roll the intro. This may be a little tougher to get through, but I want to be as open and transparent as I can with everyone who follows me and my clients. And first and foremost, I want to say I'm no expert with mental health. All I'm going to talk about is my own experiences and some of the things that I guess have helped me along the way. I had done a podcast, not that long ago, probably 18 months now with Beck Watt. And I said on there that I was lucky enough to have not dealt with any mental health issues, which at the time I probably didn't realize, but I was probably going through a little bit of stuff. It wasn't until last year, mid last year, that it probably really became apparent to me that, my mental health wasn't that good. And I started to take a little bit of action. I started to seek out a psychologist was the first thing that I done. And anyone who's done that, it's actually quite hard to find a psychologist in general. And I'm really picky with anyone that I, do courses with. And it's the same with the psychologist. I was quite picky. I wanted to research. I didn't want to talk to someone who, had never run a business before or who didn't have kids and all the things that I was going through. But just jumping back, at the time or, last year, January last year, we were trying to sell our house and we knew we needed to get something bigger. We'd outgrown it with 3 little kids. Anyhow, we sold our house and we identified the house we wanted to buy and we'd locked that in, which was really, really exciting. But there was a 3 to 4 month grace period that we couldn't get into the new place. So we had to make a move to Grammy's house. So throughout all these things that I'm going to mention, I kept thinking, once I get to here, I'm going to feel better. Once I get to here, I'm going to feel better. But then eventually we got to our new place and I still felt the same. There was something going on. And that's when I was like, I need to seek some help here. So we sold our house. I had an office set up out the back of my house. So that was gone as well. So we've moved in my office into Grammy's or my grandma's house. In that place, 3 little kids. It was really small. The kitchen wasn't even really functioning. We did all of our cooking on the barbecue out the front or in the microwave. And it was a long slog there, but it was really good at the same time. And in the time, my office got fitted out, which is where we are today, down the back of my mum and dad's, which was my first original gym. So, I think when I get in the new office, I'll feel better and I'll be able to do the work I want to do. I'll be able to record my podcast. I had the goal set that I wanted to record podcasts last year. That didn't happen. But then I got here and I still felt the same. Same when we moved out of Grammys and I moved into the new house, I still felt the same. Looking back, the way I lost my job to start with, that probably played a bigger toll than I let it because I was too busy in the motion of building LTF. And then the 2 COVID closures, they probably played a lot bigger role than I sort of led to believe at the time as well, because I was too busy in the trenches, trying to pave a way to, keep my clients moving, but at the same time, make money so that I could pay off my home loans and stuff. And then, last year as well, I knew Tate was leaving and then that sort of come around and then it was just Kelly and me for a fair while. So I was doing a lot more coaching than what I had been doing the year before. And it was not long after Nath started that then the floods hit and Kel's been blocked out. She's still not back at work yet till next week. So where I would normally run LTF on 3 coaches, we've been running off 2 coaches for sort of 6 months. So that's been difficult as well. But yeah, speaking to a psychologist, it took me a couple, I'll be honest, to find one that I sort of clicked with, and eventually ended up getting on an antidepressant, which I was kind of dead against to start. The first psychologist that I saw in the first interview sort of spoke about getting straight on an antidepressant, and I didn't like the way it went about it. It's like I want to try other things before I instantly go to here. Anyhows, where are we? The new psychologist, we tried lots of different strategies, and eventually she suggested it. And by that time, I was kind of willing to try anything. And now I'm at the stage where, I've still got a long way to go, but I have more good days than bad days, which is good. But yeah, last year I didn't sort of put out the content I wanted to put out, or I didn't do the things that I wanted to do because it's hard for me to sit here and talk about things when, I'm not really practicing what I'm preaching. My nutrition wasn't that good last year. The only thing that kept my training good was that I'd qualified to go to Wollongong, and it was with 2 teammates. If it wasn't for them 2 teammates, my training would have been a downward spiral as well. There's no doubt about that. I was coaching more sessions, more responsibilities at home, and yeah, the training would have had to take a sideward step. But I knew if the training took a sideward step, I was letting them other 2 go. So it was a blessing that my training kept progressing forward over that time. But when you're not eating that well, it's hard to, get on a Facebook Live and talk about what you're doing when you're not really doing as good as you'd like to do. I know I was still doing okay, and, I put a lot of pressure on myself to always be more, do more, have more. But sometimes that's not the best answer, and that's kind of the stuff I'm working through. It's still regular appointments with psychologists. I've committed to doing antidepressants for 6 months, and then we'll see what happens after that. But shout out to everyone who's still with me, backs me. I'm sorry that I probably haven't been the coach or the person that I would like to be, but I feel like I'm on the upward trend, and I feel like I'm making progress the last sort of three months, I would say, since I've sort of started all of this. And yeah, I feel like I'm coming up again. I still have bad days. I'm not going to beat that up. But yeah, I thought it was worth sharing. Because I know I've spoke to 2 of my close friends that have gone through something similar or going through something similar, and it's probably something that guys don't speak to enough. I know I probably didn't really feel like I had the people that I could go and speak to about it, which is hard for men, and speaking about this kind of stuff, I know it's important. So if there's anyone out there that's going through stuff and you feel like you haven't got anyone to talk to, if you've got my number, or if you've got you can find me easily on Instagram or wherever, you've got me to talk to. Send me a message at any time. But yeah, short little 8-minute podcast about, why 2021 was probably my worst year ever. But like I always say to my clients, I need to sometimes take some of my own advice. It's like, don't beat yourself up about the things in the past. That's done now. And, I know once I, get back on top, and I can already see the momentum, this will be the 3rd podcast I've released in 3 weeks. And yeah, Kel's back next week. I feel like I've got a holiday booked in, a week or 10 days time. We get back from there. We've got Louis getting his tonsils out. And then from there, I feel like, end of February, March, the calendar's finally looking pretty bare. So I can really try and make some momentum. But I've started the year strong. I'm down. I've been really trying to track my calories and drop a few kilos, and I'm down sort of that 4 kilo mark in, 18 days. And, training's still going as good as it was. And yeah, I'm pumped for the year ahead. And yeah, I'm just going to stop rambling, but thanks for listening. If you got something out of it, send me a message. Don't be afraid to share it with a friend if you know they need it. Pop it on your Instagram story. Tag me in it if you liked it. But until next time, later. That was a bit of a tougher one, but if you got something out of it, if you could like, subscribe, and leave a review, that would mean the world to me.